promised the Ping history buffs, and I think Lee pretty much takes the cake, right? So we've got this lovely picture of you standing in front of the Redwood City Garage. It was a fairly current picture, right? Which is nice, nice. Well, it may not be all that current. The shirt kind of gives it away. And you're married to Tracy, who I understand Rob Griffin was your wedding photographer out of Forest Highlands, 10th Tee. 2 boys, Jack and Kyle. Caddy for Joel Goldstrand, also Karsten, it appears. And you're a graduate of ASU. Let's see if we can get that one to come up. There we go. Aww. And also Lee actually helped me learn club fitting way back when I was a teen with our 5-iron displays. So it was a great time to spend together with you, Lee. But you were interviewed and hired by Alan and worked as his assistant for a while. And you enjoyed for golf, photography, music, and computers, as well as any Ping history, as you have quite a collection. Yeah. Photos, and very, very organized individual. So thank you, Lee.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't get a chance to get up here too often, so I want to say a few words. First, Tim Flynn was the assistant pro at the golf course where my parents played. So he's a Minnesotan. There's another Minnesotan that's going to be 30 years this year too, and that's Pete Samuels. So Pete deserves to be recognized too. But I want to tell Karsten's story if I can. And Barry, you're gonna give me this signal to cut me off, because when I get started, it's hard for me to stop. But so I just need to give you the cutoff. Okay? So I was such a fortunate young boy. I met Lee's dad. He was the pro at the Minneapolis Golf Club, and he had played on the tour for 6 years, and he was one of the early believers of Ping, and he was one of the early pros, along with Brian Hiskey's dad. Matter of fact, Lee's father played the Ping 69 irons in the Masters, and he became the pro there, and I was around 10 or 11, and I got started in the junior golf group there and took lessons from Joel, and I was lucky enough to be asked to caddy for him in the big tournaments around Minnesota, and he had Ping clubs. He was a big promoter of the Ping clubs, and he had the K1 irons, and you know, I remember being so infatuated with him, and when he wasn't looking, I'd sneak the club out and take a few swings, and I just couldn't believe what those clubs could do. I was able to hit golf shots that I had no business hitting, and at the time, you know, golf clubs were blades, and I was thinking about this today. My mother, you know, my mother played blade golf clubs because that's what it was before the Ping clubs. So I saved my money, and Lee's dad was so nice to me. He sold me a set of used clubs that a doctor had turned back, bought a set of K3 irons for $125, and played with them, and then I ended up going to school at ASU, and I heard that you could come up to the Ping factory, and they might adjust your clubs, and so I borrowed somebody's car. I was a sophomore in college. I drove up here, and Wedgie Winchester fitted me, and then I was waiting for my clubs to get adjusted, and I was sitting in the lobby, and I had tried to find out as much as I could about Ping, and I remember this was long before the internet. In high school, I looked up Ping in the guide to periodical literature, which that's how we had to do the research back then. And it would tell you if there's any magazine articles. And there was a magazine article about Ping, 1977, Sports Illustrated. It began in a garage sale. And I read the article, learned about Karsten and the company. Anyway, so I was waiting for those clubs to be adjusted. Probably Tim Reardon was working on it, who knows. And I was in the lobby, and all of a sudden Karsten walked in the lobby, and I just couldn't believe it. You know, there he was, the Thomas Edison of golf, the man who changed golf. And I just had to do it. I got my courage up, and I went up and said, you know, I know Joe Goldstrand, I'm from Minnesota, and he said, oh, well, have you seen the place? And, you know, I was a teenager, sophomore in college. This was in 1982. The Ping I2s that's the year the Ping I2s came out. He certainly could have been doing better things than taking a 19-year-old teenager off the street. Took me on a tour of the plant, spent about an hour with me, took me every place, took me to the sheet metal shop. And I just couldn't believe it. And so then I had 2 more years of school, and I had hoped that maybe someday I could get a job at Ping. And Alan was nice enough to take a chance on somebody without any experience. Gave me an opportunity, and I was able to be his assistant, and I was able to see all the great things and wonderful kindness that he showed. He would help churches and charities, and he would help people that needed help. And he's the kindest soul I've ever known. And that was 30 years ago, and I can't thank you enough, because this Ping family, all of us can say this is, it's our second family. And the experience that we've all had in this room, every one of us, the people that we've met through golf and through Ping, the lifetime friendships, my best friends that are my lifetime friends are in this room. And I just can't thank you enough. And the Ping family, example of that is, so there's some people that started working at Ping and didn't have a place to live, and they would live in Karsten's, Louise's home. And you get adopted. And I just want to say something. Last night I had a flashback. I was in the lobby of the hotel, and I was chatting with Chad Koshman, and I met his significant other, who was 24 years old. She's lived here in Phoenix. She said she just got her master's, and they're going to be driving to Pennsylvania this weekend. They're leaving this weekend. They're driving across country, and she's going with him to Pennsylvania. And I just thought, wow. I mean, and the excitement that I saw in Chad's eyes, and I remembered what it was like for me, about 25 years ago. And Chad, you need to make sure that you tell her that she's part of the Ping family. And there's always going to be support. And then I just want to say 2 more things. I want to flashback or fast forward 32 years from when I met Karsten. And I was a 19-year-old sophomore. Well, Brant Kendall and I are good friends. We talk a lot. And I was talking to Brant after the Masters, and Brant's son who's a sophomore at the University of South Carolina, was working at a restaurant at the Masters in the hospitality area. And Brent told me that, that John, went and sought him out a couple of times and made sure he said hello to Brady. And, it was just like Karsten did that for me when I was 19. And the Ping family, it's undescribable, the feeling that all of us are privileged to feel. And Doug, Steve Ballmer, you showed that video, Steve Ballmer, well, he said he loves his company, Microsoft. Well, you love the Ping family. We got a lot on Microsoft. We got the family. And anyway, I've been going on too long probably, but 30 years. I hope all the younger
people in the room. I hope they get to work here for 30 years at least and have the same experience that I've had. Thanks.